Hello future enthusiasts and science fiction fans, welcome to my channel. Today, we'll take a deep dive into one of humanity's greatest dreams, the vision of establishing a permanent civilization on Mars. We'll explore how we would adapt to Mars's harsh environment, how our architecture would transform on this new world, and most importantly, how close we are to making this exciting future a reality, based on scientific data and the latest projects. The road to Mars, a race of giants. The question of when humanity will take its first step on Mars is not just a scientific query but also a global competition and technological race. The main players are following different paths according to their own philosophies and goals. NASA and the Artemis program, a phased and safe approach. NASA is taking a more cautious and phased approach to the journey to Mars. The agency's most important project, the Artemis program, aims to return humanity to the Moon after more than 50 years. This is not just a visit to the Moon, but a strategic move to establish a test site and launch platform for the journey to Mars. A permanent base on the Moon would provide an ideal environment for observing the effects of long-duration space travel on the human body, radiation, low gravity, etc., and for testing technologies like life support systems that will be used on Mars missions. This strategy aims to minimize the risks of the much longer and more complex missions to Mars. SpaceX and Elon Musk. A fast and radical vision. In contrast to NASA's phased approach, Elon Musk is a radical visionary who advocates for a direct and rapid journey to Mars. According to Musk, it's vital for the survival of the human species to become a multi-planetary species. The most effective way to achieve this goal, he believes, is to develop a system that dramatically reduces costs and is based on reusability. This philosophy forms the foundation of SpaceX's Starship project. Musk's approach, which is built on rapid iteration and risk-taking away from bureaucracy, sets it apart from traditional space agencies. Elon Musk's Mars vision, Starship and beyond. Elon Musk's Mars plan involves much more than just a rocket project. It is part of a multi-layered and radical vision to transport humanity's future to Mars. The Starship rocket and reusability, a revolution in spaceflight. At the core of Musk's plan is Starship, a fully reusable rocket and spacecraft. This system consists of a massive first-stage rocket called Super Heavy and the Starship spacecraft placed on top of it. Just like an airplane that is reused after every flight, the ability to repeatedly use the Starship system will dramatically reduce the cost of space travel, paving the way for transporting thousands of tons of cargo and hundreds of people to Mars. According to Musk, the cost of sending people and cargo to Mars with this system could be 1,000 times cheaper than with existing technologies. This cost reduction would make an ambitious goal like colonizing Mars economically feasible. Building a self-sufficient civilization on Mars, a sustainability-focused approach. Musk's biggest goal is not to create a temporary research station but a self-sufficient colony on Mars, independent of Earth. This colony would grow its own food, meet its energy needs, and develop its own technology. One of the most critical steps to achieve this goal is in situ resource utilization, ISRU, technology. The methane and liquid oxygen propellants needed for Starship's return trip from Mars would be produced from carbon dioxide in the planet's atmosphere and ice on its surface. This would eliminate the need to transport massive amounts of propellant from Earth and would pave the way for a permanent human presence on Mars. The long-term goal, terraforming Mars, a visionary debate. Musk advocates for the long-term goal of transforming Mars into a habitable planet like Earth. However, this topic has sparked a major debate in scientific circles. Scientists point out that Mars's weak magnetic field would cause any added gases to quickly escape due to solar winds, and that the planet's existing resources are insufficient to raise the atmosphere to an Earth-like level. For this reason, terraforming currently remains a science fiction fantasy. However, this doesn't mean a colony can't be established on Mars. It simply means that settlers would have to live in enclosed and protected habitats. Major debates and challenges. While Elon Musk's ambitious vision is revolutionary in the field of space engineering, it also faces serious debates regarding scientific realities. Starship's reusability and safety concerns, the limits of engineering. Starship's reusability is crucial for reducing the cost of space travel, but it also brings with it major engineering challenges and safety questions. The extreme heat generated during high-speed atmospheric re-entry and the complex landing maneuvers are unproven risks to the system's reliability. For crewed flights, stricter safety standards and redundant systems would be required to prevent such failures. SpaceX's philosophy of rapid and iterative testing can conflict with these safety requirements. Terraforming: scientific data versus ambitious goals. Scientists emphasize that Mars does not have enough carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases to be fully terraformed. Additionally, the lack of a magnetic field means the planet cannot retain an atmosphere. Musk's idea of using nuclear bombs to melt the polar ice caps is not considered realistic by the scientific community and carries serious risks, such as radioactive contamination of the planet. Therefore, the more realistic way to establish life on Mars would be for humans to build their own habitats rather than transforming the planet. The dilemma between NASA and SpaceX: competition or collaboration? Elon Musk often criticizes NASA for its bureaucracy, inefficiency, and expensive single-use rocket systems. He specifically sees NASA's moon-focused Artemis program as an unnecessary stop on the way to Mars. However, despite these criticisms, the relationship between SpaceX and NASA is based on a complex collaboration. SpaceX has become a critical partner for NASA by transporting astronauts and cargo to the International Space Station, ISS, with its Dragon capsules. More importantly, NASA's selection of Starship as the lunar landing system for its Artemis program shows how interdependent these two giants will be in the future. This situation makes Musk's criticisms even more intriguing. On the one hand, he opposes NASA's slow structure, while on the other, he needs NASA's funding and trust to achieve his biggest goals. This dynamic relationship is one of the most important elements shaping the future of space exploration. It can be said that this competition and collaboration are accelerating the journey to Mars, even pushing each other to do better. Humans on Mars: a new evolution? Mars's unique environmental conditions will inevitably lead to changes in the human body. These changes will take the form of physiological adaptations and lifestyle changes rather than genetic evolution. Low gravity and its physiological effects. Mars's gravity is about 1/3 of Earth's. This can lead to a decrease in bone and muscle density, spinal elongation, and changes in the cardiovascular system over the long term. Mars colonists would have to follow intense exercise regimens and special diets to minimize these effects. Radiation and health risks. The surface of Mars is exposed to high levels of cosmic and solar radiation due to its weak magnetic field and thin atmosphere. This can damage astronauts' DNA and increase the risk of cancer. While early settlers would be protected by special suits and underground habitats, genetic modifications to increase radiation resistance could be explored in the long run. Psychological adaptation and isolation. Living in enclosed, limited, and isolated environments can have profound effects on the human psyche. Mars colonists would have to cope with long-term loneliness and monotony. This could lead to teen conflicts, depression, and other psychological issues. Social support systems, large common areas, and virtual reality technologies will be vital for protecting the mental health of the Mars colonists. The future of architecture on the Red Planet. The most important factors shaping architecture on Mars are the planet's brutal environmental conditions: intense radiation, extremely low temperatures, a thin atmosphere, and frequent dust storms. Therefore, our construction principles from Earth must be completely changed. In situ resource utilization, ISRU, and 3D printing, transporting materials from Earth is incredibly expensive and difficult. For this reason, Mars architecture will largely rely on the use of local resources. Mars soil, regolith, and water ice on the planet can be converted into building materials using 3D printing technologies to quickly construct customized and durable habitats. This not only reduces costs but also has the potential to make the construction process autonomous. Underground cities and lava tube habitats. The safest way to protect against radiation is to go below the surface. Natural lava tubes or man-made underground tunnels on Mars could provide large and protected living spaces. These underground cities could use massive skylights or fiber optic systems to draw in sunlight, which would have a positive effect on the psychological well-being of the settlers. Modular and expandable design. For the first settlements, easily transportable and quickly deployable inflatable modules will be of great importance. These modules can be brought to Mars in a folded state and inflated on-site to create living and working areas. They can then be covered with regolith for radiation protection. Additionally, living spaces on Mars would be designed to be expandable over time, with new modules added as the colony grows. These ambitious projects will be a testament to humanity's creativity and adaptability. On Mars, we won't just survive, we'll build flourishing and inspiring living spaces. Who is closer? Based on the current situation, it is more accurate to evaluate the progress in terms of robotic exploration and technological infrastructure rather than a crewed mission. USA. Experience and infrastructure advantage. The USA is far ahead as the country that has sent the most missions to Mars, stayed on the surface the longest, and collected the most diverse data. This experience is invaluable for future crewed missions. NASA's decades of experience, more advanced technologies, and long-standing work on life support systems needed for human missions give the US an edge in this race. China. Speed and determination. China's space program is advancing with incredible speed and has managed to catch up with decades of US experience in a short time. Sending an orbiter and a rover on a single mission is one of the most important proofs of this speed. China's speed and determination in this area suggest that the gap could close in the long run. Both countries will continue to push each other to do better in the race to explore Mars. These projects and visionary leaders show that the journey to Mars is no longer a dream but has turned into concrete, actionable plans. It's not yet clear who will set foot on Mars first, but one thing is for sure: this race will mark the beginning of a new era for humanity. What do you think? Is this competition and collaboration accelerating the journey to Mars, or are these conflicts slowing down the process? Let's discuss it in the comments. See you in the next video. Take care.